my name is Louise and I am a freelance creative currently based in the northwest of Cornwall in England. Within this webinar, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my journey into freelancing within the apparel industry, how I got started, how you can get started, and all the lessons I've learned along the way. So I really hope it's going to be a big help to anyone who is thinking of becoming freelance, or it looks as though their career path is going to lead them that way. Hopefully it will help you to learn from all the challenges that you'll be facing and see them as a positive, and to have a successful, fun time. Within the webinar, I'm going to give you a little bit of a career timeline and a background into my journey, which will be helpful because you may feel a little bit lost or as though things are taking a bit longer than you would like, but I do believe that it all comes together in the end. The rewards of being a freelance creative, the challenges which will come as well, but they can sometimes be the best part. A few recommendations, the key things that I think you should bear in mind within freelancing. And I've called it New Age Thoughts, but basically just a quick discussion on some key things that have come to light within the last couple of years through the pandemic and how life has changed dramatically, but that I think it's a very positive experience and it can work for our benefit. So let's get started. So to give you an idea of my background, I've created a timeline that very briefly summarizes the different stages within my education and career so far. It's really crazy to see it condensed like this when I've had so many lessons and so many different experiences. But I studied after secondary school at Plymouth College of Art. I did a BTEC in fashion and textiles, and that was a great introduction into balancing a variety of different tasks and a larger workload than I think I had experienced previously. I was also learning how to present my work because within every project you would have to speak in front of a group or in front of a tutor, and you would have feedback and critiques. And I was also developing my own style and interests at the time, which I think is always beneficial when you have that freedom within creativity. And this definitely led me on to moving down to Falmouth University in Cornwall and completing a BA honours degree in performance sportswear design. I've always been really passionate about living in the southwest of England. I love the location, I love the people here, and I'm really passionate about ensuring that there are still creative opportunities in areas that maybe are overlooked in comparison to big cities, or where perhaps there are less opportunities. I think this is changing now and it's changing for the better. But I've remained in the southwest until I moved to Barcelona for just under a year. This was after university. I needed a bit of a change of scenery and a bit of a break, and it was a fantastic time. It's an amazing city, very creative, lots of very interesting people living and working there. But one of the big things that hit me, so I was fresh out of uni, really needed a break. I was totally burnt out from university. I worked very, very hard. Got there, loved the sunshine, loved the beach, close to the city. But I did not have a creative portfolio to work with. And this was a really big realization point where I understood that university gives you many basic skills, and the 3 years or however long the course is, it can be so beneficial for meeting a variety of different people and really learning a lot about yourself. But I think a lot of people come out of university and they're not sure where to go, and this can be really, really difficult. Big mental challenge, and it can be a real knock to confidence as well. I actually fell into a really fantastic job in Devon just through something I had done when I would return home during university holidays to earn some money. And the owner of this clothing boutique wanted to progress further, so I suggested that I work on the online presence on the website. I learned some skills that I'd gained at university. As a person, I'm very much into teaching myself. My father is very skilled with computer programming and digital skills and illustration. So when I was younger, he would always teach us little bits and I would watch him. And I've always been very comfortable using, say, the Adobe suite. I would play around a lot with it when I was a teenager on my own side projects, just for the fun of it. It wasn't for anybody else, it was just for me. So actually all these skills were able to, they were progressed to university, and then they were able to be put into action during this initial job. And although it wasn't perhaps what I had predicted for myself when I was studying, or, you know, as you do when you think about where you might be in the future, it's actually been probably the most important job that I've ever had, because it really allowed me to multitask, and I was working for someone who allowed me to demonstrate my skills and to suggest ideas and to work in collaboration, and they put their trust in me to do a good job. So I really recommend, if you have any connections, or, you know, I got this job by walking into the shop because I would visit so much, but I walked in and I just asked, have you got any work, or do you need any assistance? So I think surprising things can come when you just bump into somebody or get chatting. It's very important to be kind and polite and presentable and professional, because you never know where a casual conversation with somebody could go. But during this time, it was the first experience I had of my work being seen publicly. So I was doing a mixture of graphic design and web design. So of course that was out in the world. And then from here, I had more offers of other independent business owners wanting my help in similar areas, because they had heard of how impressed this initial business owner was, what a good job I've done. And this is in 2017, this is really where my freelancing started. But alongside this, I was still balancing being employed with more of a set job and a set employer. So this is when it got a little bit tricky, but this is also when it got really exciting. I became familiar with the process of working for myself. So having my own deadlines, you know, it's very different from university. No one is going to cover you, or, you know, it really does matter. The difference within freelancing is that if you don't do it, then it's on you, and that is a bad impression, or that is going to be a memorable impression for both you and the client. From here, this is when I learnt of how best to approach a client, and the importance of clear communication, of how to adapt my style to suit different clients and different needs. This was very difficult initially. I also learned about pricing, which can be very difficult to talk about and very difficult to price yourself initially. But I'll talk a little bit about that later. But just to say that this personally at the time felt very, very muddled for me, and I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. I wasn't sure if I was doing a good job. I didn't know if I wanted to do it. I didn't know what area I really wanted to work in, but I just kept going, and I said yes to opportunities. And this same sort of unsure but ready for a challenge mindset continued for about another year. And moving on from that initial business that I helped to create and progress, I then saw a new opportunity within a sustainable design company, because my interest had been developing and I wanted to work within a more environmentally conscious and focused company. So I applied for a design internship. And then from that, I actually was offered a full-time role within the company, but within one of their retail stores. So this gave me a really interesting, well-rounded viewpoint of a company that I was really passionate about and how they operated. So I'd seen the design side, I'd seen the background, and then I saw the forefront, almost, if you want to call it, of how the customers see the brand, how the products look in the store, the feedback from the visual identity of the brand. And it has really helped me in future work because I have such a strong understanding from my education to my work experiences, the full design process. At the same time as this, I was also getting new offers of freelance work that I was balancing on the side. So I have tried many different variations of freelancing. I've been purely freelance, I have been part-time freelance, I've been full-time freelance. And I really think this is great to try, because you can see where your limits and how your schedule works and how best you work. So I know personally, currently at the moment, working 3 days a week for a company works really well, because then I have 2 full days and part of the weekend if I wish, or if a deadline requires, to work on the freelance job. From here, and I've highlighted it with a little circle because I think this has probably been the juiciest bit, within big learning lessons and then reflection that I can now talk about with confidence and more self-certainty. But from about 2018 to now, everything seemed to come together. So all those years of being muddled and unsure if I was working in the right area, not sure where I wanted to go, sort of doing jobs and enjoying it and learning, but then taking a step back and thinking, well, do I really want to do it all the time? Or how can I find more work? Where will these opportunities come from? How can I earn more money from doing this? But it's really been a case of just chipping away, keeping going, doing a good job, as best of job as I could every single time, continuing to meet people, continue to talk about what I do, following my own gut calling and interests as well. So monitoring sort of what I daydream about, or maybe what I save on social media, the sort of areas that I'm naturally drawn to. And these have really become much stronger within the last few years. So now when I approach work, so as I said, I'm mixing set work as content creator and e-commerce copywriter, which is something else I sort of fell into, but took a chance on and went for, and it's been so beneficial to my appeal as a freelancer and my variety as a freelancer. And then now on the side, I'm able to blend all these different areas and skills that I've picked up along the way. So it's really interesting to look back, and especially condensing it like this, to see actually how all the dots have been joining, but at the time I wasn't aware. So I think when it comes to the rewards of freelancing, this is when it becomes a lot more personal, because what I see as a reward might not be what you see as a reward. The top 2 for me would be being able to manage my own schedule and collaborating with a variety of different people. These are 2 things I've always been naturally drawn to. And I think from my early teen years, I always knew that I wanted to work for myself in some form. I wasn't sure which industry, I wasn't sure how, but I've always had that feeling. With managing your own schedule, it does come with a certain level of self-discipline and organisation. I think if these are 2 things that don't come particularly naturally, or you don't feel particularly strong in them, then there are plenty of materials and facilities out there that you can help to, or that you can use, to build your own system and to become more organised and self-disciplined. It also might be that different times in your life you find these skills strengthen or lessen, and I think it's always very important to listen to those as well, because sometimes it's not the right time to be working that way, and you could be learning more from, say, working from somebody else. With that, I do think if you do have opportunities to work for large companies, medium corporations, independent brands, it's such a good way of exploring different work processes and watching other people work. And by seeing that, you can take your own experiences and key notes and then build up your own systems. I've always been really excited to build my portfolio of work that I'm proud of. Initially, this wasn't the case. And as I mentioned from Barcelona, I didn't feel like I had anything really to work with that was relevant for what I wanted to go into. So it was actually very difficult for a couple of years. And the jobs that were coming my way, whilst I did them and I did enjoy them, they still weren't quite there. So what I began to do on the side was I was doing additional learning courses. There are many online. There is even some free YouTube tutorials that you could use it as an example in your portfolio, you can pay for more professional courses, which I think is always beneficial because you can get a certificate at the end, which you're able to add to your LinkedIn or your website. Any side projects, any personal, self-directed photo shoots, illustration projects, anything, whatever you're interested in, everything can be compiled into a portfolio. And the more you work, the more refined it will become. So don't be afraid if initially you don't feel like it's your best work. I would suggest just producing something clean, something visual, something that works. Get other people to check it over for you, spell check, make sure that all the links work, make sure that people are able to find you. I would recommend building a separate website. I know a lot of people use Instagram and social media, and right now it works, but I have a feeling that, and you may have started to notice it as well, I think a lot of people are beginning to move away, especially from Instagram. It's very overloaded, it's very business orientated now, but it means that a lot of people get lost. So if you're not paying for ads, or you haven't got a huge presence, it may be that people find it very difficult to find you. So build a separate website. There are many different hosts, there are many different pricing plans, and just keep tweaking and critiquing yourself. Get some opinions from any friends that will be honest with you, who have a good eye or interest in what you're doing. That's always really beneficial. Within freelancing, I always really enjoy working with different people and learning something new from them. This comes in all areas of life, but especially within work, because you experience a different side of someone. You get to learn different tastes, different preferences. It might be that they ask you to work in a way that you haven't done before, so that will call upon a skill that maybe you've learned previously or you've never done before. Be open-minded, be open for a challenge, teach yourself. The amount of times that I've got a job on and I've taught myself as I go, and then that is in your head, then you've retained that is something new for you to call back on, and the next experience you'll be like, oh yeah, I know how to do that, no problem. So, be honest. You can even say to someone, I'm not sure how to do that, but let me find out, or I've done that once before, but this will be a really good opportunity to practice it. I think having that mindset, which I didn't always have, it was very much initially, I was actually quite frightened, but I knew that I wanted to learn, and I knew I wanted to know how to do these things. How I like to see challenges is that they were once a challenge, and then soon they will not be. So if you go ahead first and take on the challenge, the first few times it's going to feel challenging, and then after that you're going to know it. It's going to feel much easier, and then you will probably find a new set of challenges to take on. Challenges are lessons in my mind. It's another mindset that has taken quite a few years to develop and to feel confident in, but now I am here. It feels really good, and there is much less fear surrounding learning something new. Within freelancing, I do think that there are set challenges or set hurdles that a lot of people experience, so it's less of a personal and more of just a general, you may experience this, perhaps expect it to come your way at some point. So definitely the fact that the workload fluctuates and income is not always constant or reliable. You've probably heard this from other freelancers, that you may not be getting a paycheck every month, you may not be getting the same paycheck every month. This is when I would really stress the importance of trying different systems to suit you, because there may be points in your life where you need to be working full time and perhaps freelance, or the freelance work that's coming your way will not sustain that. So maybe you have to mix things up with set employment and freelancing. There may be other times that you've managed to save some money, or you're living particularly cheaply at the time, when you can really spend all your time freelancing. Another thing to consider is, as is life, you will learn best by doing, failing, and then reviewing. I think I retain good lessons best when they've been a little bit painful and I feel like I failed a little bit. But then if you can, I think often you won't always make the same mistake twice. You might make it in a slightly different way, but keep doing it until you get the lesson, and then you'll be there. I think if you acknowledge that you would do it differently next time, and you take that on board and you do it, then it's not a failure, it's a great lesson. There may be periods where you work for less or say yes to projects purely to build your portfolio. This was one of the trickiest things to get started because I said yes for free quite a lot of time, and there's this terrible assumption within the creative industry that creative skills do not require payment, and that is not true. So I would suggest at the very maximum 5 jobs for free in your career, and then do not work for free again. I don't think it's good practice, and people will soon learn that if you're going to do things for free, I don't believe that people take it quite seriously. I think they can mess you around, and they don't always know what they have in mind. They just leave it up to you. So if it is their money, I think clients actually take it a bit more seriously. So it's for both benefits as well. Initially saying yes, I would do it because you have in mind that you're building your portfolio. It's not a long-term strategy that I would recommend. Alongside this, you will find that unfortunately it is very rare to have perks of usual employment if you are working freelance. So no paid holiday, sick pay or bonuses. So as a summary of what I have discussed through the slides, my key recommendations if you are thinking of developing a freelance career or you're about to start working on a freelance project. Start working on projects in your free time. Do it for fun, do it for you. I think it can put a lot of pressure on yourself if you're seeing it as a career, and it definitely helped me personally when I tried to remove this element of pressure within myself, and I just did things because I was interested and I was doing them well, and then I found that people naturally came to me because I would just be talking about it or I'd be sharing it online, and things flowed a lot more freely. Equally, don't put pressure on yourself to go 100% freelance immediately. When you are building yourself up, and I think in life in general anyway, try and limit social media and comparison. It is very overwhelming to log on to, say, Instagram and see everyone sharing their skills and their ideas and their style. But if you do need advice or you are looking for inspiration, just be clever about it and set yourself a timer so you've not gotten lost in a social media hole for an hour and then you need to catch up on the work. Appreciate each job that comes your way purely through the lessons, whether it is a positive or a painful lesson. Well, they're both positive, but some might feel a bit trickier than others. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what connections they're going to have. You never know where it's going to lead. And quite often what I find is one thing that felt quite challenging or was brand new to me, it came back around in about 3 jobs' time. And then it wasn't even a challenge. It was a thing that I knew. So just be aware of that and try and practice the mindset of seeing challenges as lessons. This will be up to you to decide, but I would suggest at the very start, just make sure you're getting enough to cover your materials, or if you're traveling, your transportation, ask for that. And then you can slowly increase with each job that you complete and as your portfolio grows. I would also recommend, if you're doing online training, to up your price with every course that you complete, because ultimately someone is coming to you for your knowledge and your skills. Always be polite and professional. This is very, very important because word travels fast, both in person and online. You never know how it will come back to you. You never know who the person might know, who they might meet, who they may introduce you to or suggest you to in the future. Within this, meet deadlines and communicate clearly. If you don't think you're going to meet the deadline, send an email, give the person a call, especially if it is something, for example, if you're building a website and they have a set launch date, you need to make them aware of your progression. And all in all, find your best way of working. This is not going to be the same for everyone. It's not going to be the same every season for you. It's not going to be the same every year for you. New age thoughts, whether you want to call it that way or not, is basically just giving some topics of discussion for how the world is currently changing and transforming. It's a very difficult time. It's a very scary time. It is affecting everyone differently. So I just wonder whether remote working is going to increase opportunity. We've already seen a large increase on a variety of job sites. of lots of people looking for work and lots of people turning to freelance and being able to accept jobs that they may not have been able to do a year ago. We are understanding the importance of learning how we work best and how this new age is going to teach us a greater work and life balance. Again, this comes with the complete lifestyle changes that many of us have been experiencing, and how we can utilize the vast knowledge available online. There's just endless learning to be had, and anything that you are interested in, I do believe that this time is really opening up for us to explore the things that really light us up and seeing the benefits of us doing that. So creating our own systems of working, creating our own schedules. Whilst it feels, well, we're very much in the middle of it, it does feel very daunting and very scary. I like to think that there is a lot of positivity and a lot of hope to come through as well. It's going to be a really radical change, but I think if you can find how best it can work for you, then it could, well, I do believe it will be better than a lot of the systems that we had in place previously. If you are unsure as to the next step to take, then I really recommend taking just a bit of time by yourself with no outside sources, just to review where your mind is going, maybe the thoughts that are coming up, maybe some fears, make some notes, look to people who could maybe give advice. Podcasts are great for this because you get to hear of other people's opinions and experiences. But ultimately, I do believe that you do know what is best for you and the areas that you'd like to go. The path might not be clear, but I think if you have confidence and you say that you are going to get started and you are going to figure out, then things will come through, perhaps in a different way than expected, but that could be more positive than you initially imagined as well. Thank you very much for listening to me talk about my experiences and my journey. I really hope it's been of help to you, and if you have any questions or you'd like to reach out, I've added some links below in the slide. Feel free to send me a message. If you've got any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. And yeah, I hope it's been of help, and take care.